September 2020, big month in games. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, we want to talk about the top 10 new games of September 2020. Starting off with number 10, it's Crusader Kings 3 coming to the PC on September 1st, 2020. Obviously, it's the latest in a series of grand strategy games set in the Middle Ages, and there are some pretty big jumps and improvements, and it's really actually a pretty big addition from the looks. A few weeks ago, there was a preview stream that really did a lot in showing the first hour of the game, what you're going to be occupied with, how you're going to be learning, etc., etc. And we also found out that over time, it's going to be getting the same kind of expansions and DLC that Crusader Kings 2 did, which did a lot to keep that game alive for a very long time. It's the kind of DLC strategy that you actually want because it keeps the game fresh and new for a number of years. Like I said, Crusader Kings 3 is coming to PC on September 1st. At number 9 is WRC 9. World Rally Championship is a great series that has been going way back to 2001. The previous entry came out about a year ago, actually, September 2019, and it did receive a little bit of criticism for having a fairly repetitive career mode. However, it is a series that usually has great physics and generally improves on it every year, and that's kind of what I'm expecting out of this. My hope is both the career mode has been addressed as well as the continual ongoing improvements that we generally see in most racing series. Let's just be frank, like, it's an expectation. Despite the fact things have been affected this year, it is containing all 13 scheduled rounds of the 2020 season, as well as the big rallies, Safari Rally, Rally New Zealand, and Rally Japan. And I think that this is probably going to be one of the bigger rally games of the year, personally. It's coming to everything: Windows, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and even later to Nintendo Switch, but on all the other platforms it's hitting on September 3rd. At number 8 is Iron Harvest, a real-time strategy game coming to us from King Art Games, which attempts to take us to a 1920 alternate history, which gives us a basic steampunk/dieselpunk aesthetic with a heavy focus on what they're calling mecha. Basically, the campaign is loosely based on the Polish/Soviet War, which took place in that time period, and it has a few different classes of units to control in typical RTS fashion. However, between the infantry, heroes, and mecha, it's probably going to produce a pretty different dynamic than what we generally see, because the mecha is huge, like massive, like chip-sized. They've also got 3 factions in the game that will all have specific careers for the factions, which sounds good, as well as the multiplayer modes that they intend on including. This was a crowd-funded game that raised $1.5 million, so there's some pretty intense expectations for it, but I think that may actually deliver. It's novel enough of a concept that they don't have to innovate a lot, in my opinion, for it to be satisfying. If they can deliver a competent game that properly adapts a lot of the conventions of the genre into this idea that they've got going, I think that's probably enough. Now, not necessarily for a sequel. If they are successful and they make a sequel, it does have to build on that as well. And I'm not saying you should have like low expectations for it or anything, but I can say that the idea is enough to intrigue me, and that is great. I love it when games are like that, actually. Iron Harvest is coming to PC, PS4, and Xbox One September 1st. At number 7 is Sirus Sam 4, which did get delayed. Like, we talked about it last month, but that is not a good reason not to talk about it this month. Like, because they delayed it a month, we do have to repeat some stuff. Obviously, Sirus Sam 4 is a reboot of a pretty intense shooter series that is based on dealing with hordes of ridiculous monsters. It's extremely fast-paced. It's chaotic, it's insane. Like, if Doom was amped up to 11, that's Sirus Sam, which is frankly great. I'm stoked about that. But again, it did get delayed to this month. So if you're as excited about Sirus Sam 4 as I am, it's coming September 24th to Stadia and PC. At number 6 is Marvel's Avengers. Now, this is, of course, a somewhat controversial title at this point. They've managed to really kick up some dust without even releasing the game over some interesting, yeah, let's go with interesting decisions regarding the monetization. I'm going to go ahead and say, like, I find that really unfortunate because the actual gameplay of the game looks good to me. It's looked good to me from day one. Like, kind of taking on board some of the combat conventions from the Spider-Man game that Insomniac made and adapting it to a bunch of different characters, different attributes. And honestly, like, that looks cool. Like, I thought that the gameplay with the Black Widow, for instance, looked really neat. I am a little hesitant about the monetization at this point. I hope that it doesn't ruin the game because, frankly, it looks like it's got potential. It still looks like it's got potential. It is coming to PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Stadia on September 4th. At number 5 is NBA 2K21, which let's just go ahead and say we really have not seen a lot of at this point. There is a demo out now, but it's also not like extensive. It is a very pretty version of this game though, however, and it needs to be said how big of a visual improvement we're seeing over even pretty good looking previous titles. Obviously, a demo can't really show us a whole lot about like career mode, for instance, but I am very excited from what I've seen. I mean, I could talk about the monetization stuff for a few minutes. The 2K games have a problem with that, but underneath it, there is at least a very good basketball game, and it looks to be possibly the best version of it. Again, sports games with career modes really are hard to judge by demos, but I'm still going to go ahead and say I think there's a lot of potential in this one. It just seems like an all-around stock improvement so far from NBA 2K20. That is hitting PS4 and Xbox One on September 4th, and is also hitting the next generation at launch. At number 4 is Baldurs Gate 3, which let's just go ahead and say, I didn't think there was ever going to be another Baldurs Gate game. I really didn't. The incentive to make another has been there for a very long time at this point, but there's been a fight over who actually gets the rights to the game. Larian Studios fortunately got a hold of it after doing Divinity Original Sin 2. As the owner of the Dungeons & Dragons and therefore Baldur's Gate license, Wizards of the Coast felt that game really demonstrated that they know exactly what they're doing. I would agree. I'm also really excited to see this with some of the, let's say, improvements to the formula that the Divinity games have given us. All in all, it's kind of a match made in heaven situation. Baldur's Gate was a fantastic RPG, and to see that mantle picked up by one of the best RPG developers of our current time, I'm just really excited. Baldur's Gate 3 is coming to PC and Stadia on September 30th. At number 3 is Kingdoms of Amalur: Re-Reckoning, which is a remaster/remake of a game that cost tons of money to make, was a passion project of literally just a baseball player with a ton of money who really liked fantasy games, and also was able to recruit R.A. Salvatore, the author, and Todd McFarlane to create the story and art for his game, and didn't really get any attention when it came out. Over time, it did, however, build a bit of a cult following, and I think that it definitely deserves to be seen. Like, the original was actually a really cool game, and now it looks a lot better. Kingdoms of Amalur is coming to PC, to PS4, to Xbox One on September 8th. At number 2 is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, which is like a total remake of the first 2 Tony Hawk games, the best 2 Tony Hawk games, let's be frank. And from the looks, it seems like it really manages to retain the original gameplay while looking significantly better. Like, it is an upgrade on every upgrade we've seen that makes it look basically like a new game. As a huge fan of these games, I'm particularly excited and interested to just how faithful it is, but also just how successful it is in actually bringing back this franchise. The last couple of attempts have really been disasters, and I think going to the roots but giving us like full-on next-generation visuals is exactly what the doctor ordered with this, because if they take what they've done here, move forward with the old-school gameplay in a manner that actually comes together, we might have the series back. That'd be great. That'd be phenomenal. I love Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. That's coming to PC, PS4, and Xbox One on September 4th. Check it out. And finally, at number 1 is Mafia Definitive Edition, which does this incredibly awesome thing in basically adding tons of stuff to the original Mafia. In some ways, it's a little bit of a reimagining, but for the most part, they're really sticking very close to the original. However, they're using the engine from Mafia 3 Definitive Edition. So what I particularly like here is a proper cover system has been implemented. That's been something that, like, going back to the original Mafia after playing Mafia 3 Definitive Edition is a bit jarring about. but let's just be frank, it also looks amazing compared to what it used to look like. It wasn't a bad looking game for its time, but like it was very much a game of its time, and now it is very much a game of our time. I'm excited to just play it nonstop. It's coming to PC, PS4, and Xbox One September 25th. Couple of quick bonus games for you. First is Spelunky 2, the sequel to just a phenomenal side-scrolling, randomized roguelike that honestly, awesome. Love Spelunky. Absolutely, give me more of that. Thank you. That's coming to PS4 and PC on September 15th. Walking Dead Onslaught is coming to PC VR and PSVR. It is a VR Walking Dead shooter. It is very cool looking, and I am interested in it very much. It's hitting on September 29th. Also, we've got Crysis Remastered coming. Now, obviously, Crysis has been a benchmark game for a very long time, but they've gone ahead and made it better. Now we've got ray tracing. Now we've got much better textures. I mean, it's Crysis. You know what you're getting with it. It's a great game. And it's hitting PC, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4 on September 18th. And then finally, we're getting The Outer Worlds Peril on Gorgon DLC, which adds an entirely new colony to The Outer Worlds, which is apparently totally lawless, and there's a big mystery going on there. I'm excited to check that out when it hits PS4, Xbox One, and PC September 9th. What are you going to play in September? Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week, and the best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. So click subscribe. Don't forget to enable all notifications. And as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time right here on gameranx.